Hello everyone, this is Miss Gromek. I'm here to show you how to rivet today. This is for attaching two pieces of metal together in a cold connection. What that means is there's no heat, so it's just a way to attach two pieces together without using any kind of torches or soldering. There's quite a few things you're going to need for this assignment. In my classroom, we're going to be using these riveting drill bits. For information for anyone who has an interest in this in the future, these drill bits are a number 60. That means that the diameter of them is the same diameter as 18 gauge wire. So you will use these drill bits in our drills and drill your holes. The way to do that is you'll take the topmost piece and you will mark with a thin Sharpie where you want your drills to be. So you'll go 1, and for me 2. I made 2 marks. Then I am going to take my center punch and I center punched those 2 spots so that when I went over to the drill bit would sit nicely in the center punched divot so that it would drill through the metal. If you want to see how to use the drills in my classroom, there is a separate video on using the drills. So please watch that video. Once you have drilled the topmost piece of your project, you then take a thin Sharpie and you can go through the whole of the drilled spot to mark where you want to drill your bottom piece. So I line this up where I want this and I go through the hole and I make my mark, and I go through my other hole and I make my mark, and now I know where to drill the second piece. And again, you always have to use your center punch to make a divot or a little dent in your metal so that way the drill is easier to use. So you will always use number 60 because for riveting in my classroom, we use 18 gauge wire. Now, what does 18 gauge wire mean? When you look at wire, you will always see an AWG. So ours is 18. AW means American wire gauge. So 18 AWG is what you will look for. I have it in copper in my classroom. I have it in brass, which is a gold color in my classroom. And you can even see this one kind of lost its number, but it's still there enough for you to be able to make it out. 18 AWG. When I'm riveting a piece, I'm definitely going to need my chain nose pliers or needle nose pliers, and I'm going to need a flush cutter where it's flat on one side and it can cut the wire easily. So for this one, my first rivet, I used a piece of copper so that everything matched together. For my second rivet, I'm going to use a piece of brass so that way it's easier for you guys to see. When I'm making a rivet, I do not need that much. Maybe 1/4 of an inch, and even that is too much, but I'd rather you guys have something to start with. That little piece of wire went flying, so let me cut another little piece. There we go. So this is way too much, but I'd rather have a little bit more than less to show you guys. Now, after you drill your holes on your piece of metal, the back side is going to have some excess from the metal getting drilled through. So you will need to file down the spot where you have your hole on the back side. So file that down nice and flat so that you have no metal blocking you from putting your little wire rivet through. All right, so I'm going to line up my pieces. And I am going to take my chain nose pliers, which are the ones that are flat on the inside, curved on the outside, and come to a point. I'm going to grab my piece of wire, and I want to pinch it pretty hard because I'm going to have to shove it through the holes. Where did my holes go? There it is. So what I'm doing is I've grabbed my piece of wire and I'm lining it up, and I'm going to try to shove this wire, and I might have to twist and wiggle, and it might do that, but I swear I've gotten it through before, so it works. You just have to kind of finesse it. Twist, push, twist, push. I'm definitely through my first piece. It's just getting it through the second piece. Grab at the top again. There we go. So I've twisted and pushed it a bunch of times, and now I'm through on the bottom. So both pieces now have a piece of wire through, and it's not going anywhere really. So what I'm going to do is lay these two pieces flat so that it's coming out on top, but it clearly is going through. And I'll bring you guys down in so that you can see me do this part. I am working on a bench block. You guys can work on one of my bench blocks, or you can work on your anvil that comes with your set, your bench pin and anvil set. And now I'm going to be taking what's a riveting hammer. So a riveting hammer has this flat side, and it has this side that comes to a point or a line. So this is the riveting hammers in my classroom. And I'm going to hold my metal, and I am going to take my riveting hammer, and I'm hitting down using the pointed side, and I'm going to tap it and hit it. And you can see that I'm kind of tapping at an angle. I'm striking it in this angle. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to strike it. And I'm hitting just the top of that wire. And if I'm missing, it's because I'm trying to show you guys, so I can't look perfectly close at what I'm doing. Excuse my camera movement. I'm trying to give you a side view of what I'm doing here. So I'm hitting down and I'm striking it. And then I turn and I hit down. And I turn and I hit. And what this is doing is it is flattening out the top of my wire so that my wire is kind of, and you guys can see that my hammer end is flaking. I'm not too worried about the flaking. Clearly these hammers were just kind of on the cheaper end, so we'll just wipe the flaking away later. So again, if I'm missing, it's because I would love to be closer to see what I'm doing here. But I'm just hitting it and rotating, hitting and rotating. You can go straight up and down a little bit too. That's fine. Because we're using this hammer head that is a line, it automatically starts to make your wire flatten out in that kind of direction. So what I'm trying to do is basically, if you've ever seen a nail, I am turning this wire into that. I am hitting the top of this wire enough that it's flattening out, it's spreading out in a way that will make a top so that it won't perfectly slide through the hole anymore. And it's okay that it's this high up because I'll push it through on the other side. So, I don't know how well, there we go, I can get it into focus. I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a little, I can feel it when I try to grab it. It doesn't slide perfectly. There is a little part that has been flattened on the top of this piece of wire. So I could keep going to make sure that it's really like that, but I'm trying to make not a too long video for you guys. So once I have that, I am going to use my chain nose pliers again and push on the top of the wire, but not on the bottom of the wire, so that I can kind of squish it, there we go, through my hole. So I pushed it through. I can grab the back side to see if it'll slide through. It doesn't slide through. So now I have that little rivet, and it has some black schmutz from the hammers, so I can just clean that and polish that later. But I want to push it through completely so it's nice and flush on the one side. Flush means flat. And then I can set that side down. Now this is way too long, so I'm going to take my flush cutters and I'm going to go just a touch above where the metal is. I want it to be super, super thin so that I just hammer this top part and it will go flat against my metal. So again, taking, if I can get it in focus, taking my flush cutters, using the flat side against the metal, and I am going to trim that metal rivet, wire rivet, so that it is very close to the surface. And then once again, I will strike it so that it spreads out. Turning, rotating, and striking. Sorry, I think my fingers have been in the way, but rotate it and hit the top of it. Rotate it, hit the top. And you keep going until it is flat against your surface. Okay, I can still feel a bump there. It clearly still has a bump there. It's not as flat as my other one. So I can hammer that a little bit more. And there you have it, guys. That's a rivet. Now I can't pulling it. I'm trying to separate it. It's basically like a metal staple, and it keeps the piece in place. Now you can see on my finger marks and things on this surface. So of course, after I finish doing my riveting, I have to sand and polish. So make sure you refer to the different sanding pieces of paper, those squares that I have for you guys, and do them in the correct order. And then once you are completely and absolutely done with everything, and this is going to be your final piece, you would polish them with our sunshine cloth that we have in class. And you have your riveted piece. So that's how you do a rivet. Thanks for watching, and good luck.